Hi, everybody. Good evening and welcome to EduTALK. EduTALK is a virtual talk show created out of the need for a global learning community. And we focus on topics in education that directly impact Caribbean nationals and diaspora individuals working across the globe. And we're featuring this evening Miss Samantha Dickson, and she is in Grenada. Um, my visitation to Grenada happened recently because of the Caribbean Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, and that conference was really amazing. And of course, Grenada is the spice capital of the Caribbean. Miss Dickens, uh, welcome to EduTalk.
So thank you, and good day to all the viewers and listeners of your program. Thanks for having me.
Yes, it's very good to have you. And we met recently we didn't meet in Grenada, sadly. We met on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is amazing to connect wonderful people who are doing the work. Give us a little bit about you, and I know you wear many hats, and I'm going to go through a little bit of each of them. But what is it that you do now?
So, in my role now, I am the volunteer president of Grenada Red Cross Society. I was elected 4 years ago for a 4-year term, so which is quickly coming to an end with the opportunity to be re-elected.
Okay.
But the second president in 37 years. So, and
What?
it's the first female president. So I always say that because, again, around the decision making table, obviously, sometimes the gender parity sometimes, we have to plan specifically for capacity building around that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm very honored because being the second female president and then waiting for so long, it seems like people don't really leave the position after they take it up, especially the men.
I wouldn't necessarily put it that way, but I will
Okay.
say that in order for functionality and clear transparency, we ought to have rules and regulations that clearly outline what should happen when the time comes. And having said that, one of the big achievements of this current governing board has been the establishment of a constitution for the Grenada Red Cross Society. And so we are a unique organization formed by law
Mhm.
and as an auxiliary to government. And it's volunteers. So again, volunteering comes with its own problems versus when you have staff that have a responsibility and are paid to do certain things. So I mean, it's about putting measures in place that the volunteers and members can call for elections when it's due and that kind of thing.
Okay. So, and the term is
Yeah.
4 years.
4 years, with the possibility to run a second term, but
Mhm.
then no more than 2 terms.
Okay. Okay. So you're president of the Red Cross in Grenada, National Red Cross in Grenada, and then you are a faculty at St. George's University.
Yes.
What do you do at St. George's as a faculty member?
At St. George's University, it's an interesting story. I volunteered here 28 years ago, never left, always volunteered. And
Yeah.
eventually you get to know what you're volunteering. Didn't see it coming. And today I'm full-time faculty managing the simulation department of clinical skills, where
Mhm.
we teach the medical students in a safe simulated space. And on another day, I wear the cap of the American Heart Association training center coordinator for the courses of BLS, Advanced Cardio Life Support,
Okay.
Pediatric Life Support Training.
Oh wow. So it's it's general medicine,
Yes.
um, or you focus on pediatrics.
No, it's general because we do all body types in the courses that we offer, all different diagnoses. But in terms of simulation, we
Mhm.
prepare the students before they go to the real world to see real patients with real
Issues.
issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we do it in a simulated safe space. They can make their mistakes, they get corrected, and we put
Oh,
them on the right track to doing the right thing when they go out there.
yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. I'm not too familiar with St. George's University. Is it so you accept international students as well
Of
from all over.
course, of course. I believe, I don't want to misquote, but I think we're like 80% North American, meaning Canada and the US. And then we have a global population. Um, we have students from each and every continent
Mm-hmm.
on the globe, yes. And we offer a Caribbean program as well, too. So there's the medical school, the veterinary school, the business school, arts and sciences. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so there's various schools. I work with the medical school, the medical
Yeah, yeah.
department. Yeah.
Yeah, and I will put a plug here that if anybody wants to join the university as a student, they can go online. Just they can Google St. George's University in Grenada.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as well, yeah, it's www.sgu.edu, as
Okay.
well as clinical and job openings are advertised on the website as well.
Oh, yes. And it's a very fascinating and naturally beautiful place to study.
Good.
Yes, yes. All right, so let's dig into the Red Cross. Let's talk about Red Cross because they're the president, national president
Yeah.
in Grenada, and you also collaborate and coordinate programs across the region. Tell us a little bit about the main ones that you're working on now and how they're impacting lives.
Yeah, so as the president of the Red Cross in Grenada, it's the of course like the volunteers chair of the governing board, and there's of course staff, and then you have volunteers, and then in the heat of emergency, spontaneous volunteers. So we have to learn how to cope with the various changing times, whether it's non-crisis or whether it's in crisis time. Our most recent disaster was Hurricane Beryl, Category 4, last July, so just past 1 year. And we're still in the recovery mode, meaning that we did some relief, we did some response, but the long-term recovery and rehabilitation is bigger than, I mean, imagine being 99% impacted. That was our sister island of Carriacou and Pitimatnik. So we have volunteers on the ground. We have a small staff of 3 at the moment, and they're running the operations with a dedicated core of volunteers, and that's locally. So locally, we engage with all of the ministries of the government because we are auxiliary to government. The Red Cross functions because of law establishment. So it's not the regular NGO.
Mm.
It's there to support all ministries. So we work with all the ministries: agriculture, tourism, health, education, youth, sports. We are there. So with the Hurricane Beryl operation, we did a bit of response and support to all of the ministries. For example, with agriculture, we worked with farmers to restore their livelihoods in terms of water storage and containers to be able to get back to work. In communities, we worked with families, giving them cash, multi-purpose cash vouchers and vouchers for replacing shelters, most specifically roofs to homes that were damaged. Of course, the Red Cross is only one such entity on ground, and there were many NGOs supporting the efforts in various ways. In education, we have youth groups in the schools and in the communities. We work in all levels of education. Well, not so much in preschool, but from primary school up to tertiary level. And they have organized groups that meet on a weekly basis and do Red Cross sort of engagement, so that by the time the students leave school, they become hopefully well-cultured citizens who would be prepared in climate resilience issues, health issues, just safety, and being the humankind that we anticipate that the work of the Red Cross hopefully produces. On
Okay.
the regional on the
Mm.
regional perspective now,
Right.
the Grenada Red Cross is only one of
Mhm.
16 English-speaking Red Crosses that do the same thing in all their various countries.
Mhm.
So we coordinate with all the other Red Crosses of St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Barbados, Dominica, you name the Trinidad, Bahamas in the north. And we get together as presidents, be it virtual or in person, to strategize and to try to do things regionally and support each other. So after burial, of course, you had support coming from way up north, across from those in the east and across from those in the south. Grenada Red Cross is one of 191 national societies in the IFRC. So in the Caribbean, it's one thing. Then we belong to the Americas and the Latin America and the Caribbean region. And then we belong to the global region where we meet 190 other presidents every 2 years in an annual meeting, and every 4 years with government representatives to do the work of humanity that we do.
Okay, very good. It's very comprehensive. What is the volunteer numbers like in because they say you have three staff.
Yeah.
What's the volunteer numbers like in Grenada?
Yeah, so I must say that volunteers are the backbone and are the greatest assets of any Red Cross society. You look at the news anywhere, where even where there's life crisis, wars, just droughts, anything that exists, it's volunteers on the ground. No Red Cross society I'm aware of have the staff that fully meets the capacity of its needs. So
Mhm.
we do appreciate the work of the volunteers. In Grenada, we have different levels of volunteers. So we have volunteers in the youth, in the group, in schools. They go to school, they're in uniform. So we call them in-school youth. And then we
Okay.
have out-of-school youth between the ages of 16 to 35 that are called youth. And then after 35, you become an adult. And then you have,
Mhm.
once you are volunteering for a certain length of time, you
Mhm.
can subscribe to the National Society. Right now, we have an annual fee of $10, which is not a
Okay. Okay.
lot.
No.
And then you become a member and you are eligible to run for executive positions, to run for strategic roles, to volunteer more and to
Mm.
make a more concerted effort to, let's say, sign up to do things that calls for more committed hours and so on. So as
No.
a volunteer, you give freely of your time and talent, but as a member, you are given more responsibilities. So for example, we have volunteer members who head volunteer management, who head crisis management, who head psychosocial support, reestablishing family links. You name it, there's a focal point for that.
Okay. And so you have certain number of people, young people who go into the school. Tell me a little bit about the volunteer criteria for like if you want to go into the school to have extra lesson or tutoring for students
Right.
in math or science or reading or something like that. How
Yeah.
does that work with the coordination?
Right. So at the moment, the in-school groups that we have are run by the schools, are owned within the school. So we don't have external people
Okay.
going into the school. So we have parents associated with the school and teachers associated with the school. What we do, however, is like once a year, we get all the schools in a big stadium where they can see each other on the different flags
Oh.
representing the various schools. So it's a sea of red and white and blue at least once a year. On smaller occasions, different schools get together because one of the mottos of the young people would be international friendship and understanding. So,
Mhm.
because of that, they do their little exchanges within their geographic spaces in the parishes where it does not call for too much logistics or resources to move, kids around and to get activities interchanged where they can grow and learn from each other.
Mhm. That's really, really fascinating. I like it. Do you have this specific month per year when you gather as one with all the schools?
Yeah.
Is it like in June?
Yes, we do. It's May 8th. And going back to the founder, Sir Henry Dunant, who
Yeah.
actually had the idea that started this thing we know as Red Cross and Red Crescent societies today. Back in 1859, there was a war going on between Italy, France, and there was a third country. I don't want to say the wrong one,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he saw wounded soldiers, and he didn't care who was wounded. He just called out the villagers. He helped anyone who was hurt. And that was the birth of the idea of the Red Cross. Today, we honor him for having that idea. And his birthday was the 8th of May. So, globally,
Oh,
on the 8th of May every year, we celebrate International World of Red Cross Red Crescent Day.
okay. Wow. Well, that's education and the gatherings and so on around education. What about you mentioned earlier about natural disaster across the Caribbean and the coordination. Give us a little bit more about how the Red Cross work, especially when we watch it on TV. We might say there's nobody doing more for the people, and there are people crying out for help, and it seemed like not a lot of aid has been going to them. How does the coordination work? Do you have to wait on somebody to say, okay, here's the go ahead, you need to do this, and make sure that you cover your bases here before you move over here? How does it work?
So that's an excellent question that you ask, and I'm happy that I could get the opportunity, hopefully, to shed some light from the perspective that I sit, always open for learning. So
Mm-hmm.
when emergency happens, we have to work in coordination with the National Emergency Office. Grenada Red Cross sits at the highest decision-making board in Grenada, which is the National Emergency Advisory Council. It is chaired by the Prime Minister and Head of Security. Following any event, if it's a live event, we must wait for the all clear. We cannot predispose anyone to harm, so we must wait on the national services to say it's safe to go out there to work.
Mm-hmm.
Once that is given, then assessments must be done. So then relief happens in an organized manner. Pre-event, we encourage all families, as little as it is, to try to be self-sufficient for at least 72 hours.
Okay.
That is the time we anticipate that the general help would arrive from, let's say, government or national or Red Cross or anyone. Within that 72 hours, what has to happen is that we try to make contact with people on the ground who we've worked with, who can give us a picture of what has happened. Now, following emergency, if communication is broken down, that's a big blunder in the work that we can do, because we have to set up and engage coordination and communication. A lot of times that's the issue. We cannot access the affected populations, and it takes a little time. The other big challenge we have is that we do not stockpile, or we do not hold things in storage. So that when something happens, we have to reach out to our core office in Trinidad or Barbados and say, hey, we were affected. If they cannot reach us, they know we were affected, but they're going to come by the boat, by the plane somehow, but it takes time to get here. So they've been looking on. When there's something happening, it's a network. We have emergency funds that we can tap into, but it doesn't happen automatically.
Right.
So there's, the bureaucracy that has to happen. And when it does happen, sometimes the goods are not readily available. We have to get it from a provider who's probably affected themselves and cannot give you the goods that you need. So it's a whole chain of responses that happen. But again, trying to be self-sufficient, keeping communities prepared. So as it's non-crisis now, we are out in the field training communities in a methodology called community disaster response teams.
Yes.
And so we train 15 to 20 people in community X. The idea we do that is because if something happened and they were cut off, then we try to rely on those 15 or 20 people that we have there till help arrives.
Okay.
But what we have to also understand is that 15 or 20 people might they themselves become affected by the said emergency. And so that throws back everything that you just did in non-crisis time. So that's why we always have to be constantly training, constantly out there and repeating the things that we've done, because the more people we reach, hopefully the safer we can be when emergency does happen.
Yeah, they refer to them here as first responders.
Yeah.
And if something happened to those ones, then people have to wait.
That's why every household, if we
Mhm.
can, is best to have someone trained at least, so you never know what can happen.
Yeah. Is there, speaking of disaster and preparedness for disaster, is there a certain level, like high expectations of more people in the islands becoming more certified, or like how you have CPR training?
Yeah.
Is that like major focus on that area for preparation?
I'll tell you this. In many of the islands, and I think I can speak for islands here and not
Yeah.
just Grenada, certain trainings become a necessity when you have to tick a box for safety standards. If it was out of, let's say, genuine concern, or like, I just want to be trained, we have to do a lot of work to get people to come to those classes. But let's suppose you have an establishment where it is a mandatory thing for you to be trained or else you cannot function.
Yeah.
Then you have the organization reaching out to the Red Cross for training, more like that.
Yeah.
Um, and however, recency of events also trigger motivation to want to do something. So Hurricane Ivan happened in 2004. In the 2 years that followed, we didn't have to ask anybody to be prepared or to be trained because we had lived experience. Then we came 21 years later, and then we got burial, right? And so again, people who are immediately affected, they have the sensitivities to want to be prepared, like in the first 2, 3 years. And as the years go by and you settle back into your seat and nothing happens, the complacency creeps back constantly as well.
So you should have, and I'm just wondering here, what do you call it? Where you mentioned simulations. Do you have what they refer to as drills, where if something like this happened, then this is what you do. Do they do that in the islands with the schools for the
They are
hurricanes or
organized.
earthquakes?
Right. So there are organized campaigns and drills that happen. And to say that if there's not resources, then again, it puts the drill not so much on the priority list. But I can
Yeah.
recall, for example, there's a regional exercise called Region Rap. It happens every year. I can't remember the month, but I want to say April.
Mhm.
And all the islands get involved. The extent to which we get involved, though, it doesn't get all the way down to the households, but it does set up the national services to respond better.
Yeah.
We have something called Carib Wave. It happens in March. I believe it's the third Thursday of of March,
Mhm.
and that is a tsunami specific drill. It's regional, so I know all islands participate same time. And usually in Grenada, we really evacuate schools, hotels, universities. We participate, whether it's communication or real live drill.
Mhm.
Outside of that, though, remember it's kind of located specifically to one or a different geographic area every year. So
Yeah.
still, there's the need for doing more um, to reach the individuals in the household. Some schools do it, some hotels do it isolated. But again, there's always the need for practicing. But I'll also tell you from experience, you can have the best plan on paper. And when the real thing happens,
Yes.
reality
Yeah.
looks a bit different, you know? So
Yeah.
we are also prepared for that. We have lovely plans, but sometimes when the real thing happens and people are real, then we see real things happening.
That is very, very true. Yes.
Uh,
We're gonna wait. We have about 8 minutes or so left. I want to ask you about your involvement with Red Cross. So, how did you become involved that you stay there for so many years and contributing? And you seem very motivated to do the work, which is fascinating. It's very good.
Well, again, thanks. I am very humbled, but I will say the very first invitation I had to join Red Cross, I turned it down.
Oh, wow.
So I was a young teacher back in
Yeah.
1988, and
Mhm.
my principal came to me and said, "I would like you to go to training and to form a group in the school where you are." And I was mad because I wondered if she picked on me.
Yeah.
Today, 35 years later, I am the president, and I mean, I never left. I went to the workshop. I would say sent to the workshop, and the rest is history. I remember forming a Red Cross group in the school where I attended as a young staff, age 17, going on 18. I wasn't 18 yet.
Oh,
And
wow.
um, and I'm here still today. I started as a youth volunteer, and I've been to now about 110 countries,
Hmm.
doing either teaching, attending meetings, getting involved, sharing my experiences. I never
Yeah.
put it on my list of things to do, and it happened.
Yeah.
When you get into what the Red Cross is and about giving and just
Yeah.
making someone's life better, you're not going to want to leave the
Yeah.
opportunity to be able to impact change. Outside, so in the Red Cross, I've been able to serve locally, regionally, and internationally, currently serving on about 4 international boards on
Uh,
behalf of the Grenada Red Cross. One of them being Glow Red, which is the global leadership network for women in decision making.
mm,
And so that's where the passion comes from for empowering girls and women to take strategic positions and not be afraid and not just to have the equal playing field,
yeah.
to say, I want to run for this and you can do it. So we've been advocating for that. You have things like international relations. The Grenada Red Cross is a signatory to the International Climate Charter. So we attend all those high level meetings, we participate, and we not just participate, but we act accordingly. So in Grenada, we have our local Glow Red network. We are now developing a project for being a green Red Cross, which means we want to do climate smart initiatives.
Yes.
So we practice in as much as we attend those initiatives as well.
Oh, that's very good. Because one of my other question was climate change in the
Yeah,
region. I interviewed, funny enough, her name is Samantha too, and
yeah,
she's a part of the climate forward some focus group, and she actually works in the area to help educate people about the climate and climate change across the Caribbean and the impact of sea level rising and so on, with more dangerous natural disasters are on the rise. So I wanted to ask you with the how the involvement of Red Cross in those initiatives, if there's more initiatives being created and
So
partnerships too.
right. So thanks for that important question again. So going back to how the Red Cross was founded in 1859, it was because of first aid and first aid in the field. Today, the Red Cross have changed drastically. We do
Yes.
global things. I remember most recently we were involved in a project that involved construction. However, we were doing
Oh,
the people part of it. And when the cutting of the ribbon was happening, I remember high level officials saying, I don't know that the Red Cross was involved in these type
yeah,
of
yeah,
projects. And
exactly.
so using the opportunity to say that we remain relevant and change with the changing needs. So we have gone into psychosocial support, we have gone into nature-based solutions, we work in the sea, we work on construction. Because remember, we are driven by volunteers and people bring their talent and skills to the Red Cross and they use that for keeping people safe. So whether it's from the cottage industry, whether it's being a vendor who sells things, whether it's a mechanic, whether it's a baker, we use the talents of people to
Mhm.
forward the work of Red Cross and to keep people safe. So even if it means engaging youth after school to teach them some skills, to keep them socially occupied into healthy areas, we do it. We just have to
Yeah,
get volunteers to coordinate and get it going. So
very
I
good.
think we've done a bit of everything under the sun.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's communicating too what you're doing that get people involved, because if you weren't sharing this, I would not have known that you are so widespread with the volunteers and the initiatives that you're taking on. It's not just to put a band-aid on somebody, but it's to help them.
Right,
Do
exactly.
you?
It's changed. And it's not only
Yeah.
women, it's
And it's
men
not.
too. Because yeah,
Yeah.
at some levels the boys thinks it's a girl thing, but
Yes,
it's
yeah,
not. It's not. So
yeah.
we have to be advertising for everyone. We are inclusive, we are non-discriminating, we are impartial, neutral. So those are open to anyone who wants to volunteer, bring their skills and talent, and put it at best to keep people safe.
Yes, yes. Um, do you do you have partnerships with other nonprofit organizations that you can really take up the phone in the night and say, "Hey, we're partners, we're collaborators. Can you work with us on this?"
Of course, after Hurricane, if the university where I work, I'm
Yes.
proud to say that we have drones of over 100 volunteers here. So we advertise and we keep volunteers at bay. Now, these are medical students getting their medical degrees, but if something were to happen, they drop their books, they pick up their buckets, and they're on the call
Oh,
as Red
wow.
Cross volunteers. So
Yes,
we
yes.
use the resource that we have.
Mhm.
After Hurricane Beryl, we deployed 3 groups of 50 students to do different things from cleaning and moving debris to talking to the kids to doing psychosocial support, educational activities, you named it, the students came out. So
Wow.
that's one. We just signed an MOU with the University of Michigan as well. And
Mhm.
every year they send down fully funded students to do research, to do projects on the ground. So it's about, like, as you say, it's about talking to people, collaborating. Right now we have something with the Wetlands International. We've
Yes.
worked with the Nature Conservancy. We've collaborated with groups that seek out specially impacted populations. We've worked with single mothers. You name it. We've collaborated with any and every agency you can think of as well. In emergency, we sit
Yeah.
around the table with other agencies when we have coordinating meetings. So, of course, the Red Cross cannot do it alone. And there's only so much we can do and so far we can reach. And so, a strong collaborative approach is the way that you're going to reach everyone
Yeah.
eventually.
That's a very good way of closing. That's very good. Thank you so much, Miss Dixon. I keep on,
Dixon,
yeah,
yes.
Dixon. Jeez, I'm messing up your name. Miss Dixon, thank you. And your leadership is very pronounced across the region. Very, very. I'm very privileged to talk to you this evening. Everyone, This has been EduTalk. Thank you so much for being on. We are hoping that you learned something this evening and then become a part of Red Cross. Become a part of Red Cross. Can you tell us how people internationally can be a part of it? They Google and go on
In
the
the,
site.
yes, in the various countries. So, for example, in Grenada, you go to the Grenada Red Cross website. There's a tab for just volunteer. Once you click the tab, you fill up the form, and then the volunteer people on the other end who are volunteers, they get together and they follow the framework for inducting you into the Grenada Red Cross. So, similar in the other countries, the same thing happens.
All right, good, good, good. Thank you so much. If you need further information, please reach out to us at edusolutionsintl@gmail.com. That's edusolutionsintl@gmail.com. And visit our website at edusolutionsintl.org. That's edusolutionsintl.org. Thank you so much, everybody. Walk good. We'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.